And I didn't announce it ahead of time, so I don't know how many will be here, but you're live now.
Hello, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 27th of February, 2018. Of course, the news of the day is the big hearing with Cohen doing the best job he can to trash President Trump. In the world of politics, there is one maneuver that's used quite often. It's called misdirection. For the Democrats, in fear of President Trump and his meeting with Kim Jong-un in Vietnam, worried that he might actually come out with some good news, this hearing takes place. And because of that, nobody touches it. Nobody's touching the summit. I don't think people understand the damage Cohen is doing and the Democrats are doing. Now, just in the interest of getting at President Trump, you got to remember what the whole thing in Korea is about, North Korea. It's not just about some relationship with us in North Korea. It's about, you have to excuse Rosie for jumping in and chiming in. It's not about just that. North Korea poses a threat to the world. To the world. We're talking about North Korea, who has a tendency, or have had a tendency, to sell their technology wherever they can. And when you're talking about terrorism, the kind of technology North Korea has, they can afford and participate with. So we're talking about the whole world is resting on that summit in Vietnam. The future of the world, because it can be a prelude to a nuclear disaster. But just to be able to damage President Trump, they come out with this stuff. Now here's what it actually does. If you're Kim Jong-un, or any country for that matter, negotiating a deal with President Trump, do you understand? They're sitting there trying to make a deal. The deal consists of we do this, you do that, et cetera, et cetera. But you see, if they think President Trump is going to be impeached and is not going to be around to live up to our end of the deal, why would they sign on any kind of arrangement? Why? So once again, the Democrats, in the interest of destroying President Trump, have put our futures on the line. Now, I know what parties during this hearing have participated in political theater. I know that. And it's hard to pick one or the other that's doing wrong. I think the Republicans, for the better part, are right. We shouldn't be hearing this. They shouldn't be doing this. This is not what we pay. Or this is not what they're being paid to do. This is wrong. What benefit is it for this hearing? What's going to come out of this hearing? Somebody tell me what possibly can come out of this hearing. The answer is nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing except a PR campaign to smear President Trump. There will be no indictments. There will be no prosecution. None of that. If there's going to be any of that, it will come from Mueller, or it will come from one of the other investigative bodies looking into it. So this hearing has absolutely no value. None. Except to hurt President Trump. In a way that's fair, that's the way it is in Washington. That's why we're in the trouble we're in, except now is not the time to be playing this trick on the President of the United States that's overseas trying to negotiate a relationship with a country that has historically been our enemy. It's a travesty. It's a travesty of justice. It's a travesty of fairness. Another thing that's not being looked at that I'm trying to find out about. But of course, it's not being covered. Have y'all heard of Pakistan and India? Are you aware that we're half a quarter of a piece of an inch from those two countries during the war? Have you? And do you know that both those countries have nukes? Do you know that Pakistan and India go into a war? It lights up the whole region in the Middle East. And it puts America in a very tough situation. Which side would we back? Which side would we be for? Because we do, as you know, have a relationship with Pakistan, and we do have a relationship with India. So of all the things going on today, this hearing is the least important, but it is dominating the news. Dominating the news. Now, the reality of the hearing, I'll tell you that. If you know the formula of life for politics, 40-40-20, 40% love you, 40% hate you, and 20% don't care. So what this hearing is going to amount to, theatrically, is nothing as well. The people that love Trump are going to be offended by this, as most of us are. And the people that love Trump, they're going to say, well, we got him here. And the people that don't care, and they're not even listening. They don't even know what's going on. Isn't it amazing? One of the congressmen pointed out an interesting fact that I had not thought of. Every hour, our nation goes in debt roughly $100 million. Every hour. So for 4 hours, we've gone $400 million in debt for this garbage. How does that make you feel? And all of this sets the precedent and the stage for the need to transform our form of government. Yes, it does. To the progressives that are out to take over this country and to say our government don't work anymore, well, this is perfect proof for them. Perfect. See, that's where we're at. When the Democrats and the Republicans in Washington, and remember, they're not different. They're the same. And much of it is just theater. But when it gets to the point where we're so polarized in Washington that half the people vote for this, the other half vote against it, and you end up with what's called the do-nothing Congress. Well, with all of the crises going on in the world and the problems we have here in America, this is not a time for our government to be null and void. It's not. And so you can bet that the people, the Bernie Sanders and Cortez and all of those people, don't doubt that they're going to, and that Harris, don't doubt they're not going to come out strong, saying that our form of government just doesn't work anymore. We've got to redo it. We've got to come up with a modern form of government to fit today's world. And of course, they're going to push socialism. And they're going to have a good example over and over and over again where nothing gets done. So, beware. Please beware. The other thing that's going on today that you're not hearing about is the shocking direction this country's going over abortion. You know, I ask everybody, all of you that are listening to me, stop referring to abortion as abortion. Abortion today is murder. Murder. I hear the politicians and the news people and jumping out there and saying killing babies after they are born is infanticide. That frustrates me. Not because they're probably right. I mean, they're right. But it's the fact that the majority of the public along the way. Ask everybody you meet, do you know what infanticide means? And I think you'll be shocked. People think they know, but then they really don't know. So explain that. Well, you can't. You can't. So instead of using that word, why not use a word that the American people do understand, which is true murder? When a baby is out of the womb, right after being born, it's murder. You're killing a person. It's not a thing anymore. It's a person. We have taken the issue of abortion, and we've all argued over the first trimester, the second, or the third. And all of that's been going on, but it's finally gotten to the truth. This is where they want to end up, have wanted to end up, and now we're there. Now, not only can they kill a baby in the womb, but now, many states, one by one, falling in line, allowing killing a baby once more. I think back on Nazi Germany, and I wonder, excuse my cold, folks, I wonder how could people back then have been so evil, so callous, that they would march men, women, children into rooms and then gas them and kill them or shoot them, all the various things they did. And you go, golly, they were mentally ill, something was wrong with them. But folks, look at us today. What do you think we're doing as a nation? More importantly, how do you think God's looking at us? How do you think we look to Him? I worry about it. We need God to look on this nation with favor. We've got to ask Him to help us. We've got to ask Him to help save our country. But He's looking down at a country that state by state, more and more, people are going along with murder of the innocent, the most innocent among us, children, babies. It's scary to believe we've come that far down. Now, folks, if I'm lying about this, you're just going to have to tell me. But when New York, Vermont, Virginia trying, and these people are openly, outwardly talking about this and passing legislation to endorse killing of babies, what does that say about our society? What on earth makes people that are doing that, what makes us think we're worth saving? Where are we? What have we become? That's what scares me. And we've got an election coming up, 2020. I beat you over the head with it over and over and over until you're probably tired of hearing it. But don't be. This is the election coming up of all elections. This is it. We will come out of 2020 and we'll be one thing or another. We'll either be America the way we were meant to be, or we're going to come out of it a socialist nation. A ruined nation. They were figuring this grand new deal, this green new deal of Cortez. The early projections are it would cost $93 trillion over 10 years. 93 trillion. And I promise each and every one of you, that's probably, if it is enacted, if it were to be enacted, that wouldn't even be half of what it truly would cost. So you said they're going, well, why would senior Democrats, why would every candidate so far in the Democratic lineup for president, why would they endorse it? Why? Makes no sense to me. But you got to understand that Green New Deal, that $93 trillion, they're not going to hear about it. The people are not going to hear about it. All they're going to do is just see the gravy. They're going to think, well, in Shangri-La, this would be a good deal. This would be the way it'd be. Everything would be perfect. People wouldn't have to worry about health care. They wouldn't have to worry about education. They wouldn't have to do any of that because it'll all be paid for. But the truth is, it'll never happen. It will not. If we went to this universal health care, you'll notice one little trick that they put in there. I saw Bernie Sanders referring to it last night in some speech or something he was giving. The host asked him, so there won't be any private insurance. And he said, no. See, the trick to this is nobody in America will be allowed to have private insurance. The private insurance industry will be gone. So if we even dabble with this, if we even set foot in it, stick our toe in it, just to see what it's like, you will cause the destruction of the insurance industry. It will destroy us. It will. Then, now, the thing I told y'all about, I guess a year ago, Mary Ellen would know better than I, reparation. Reparation, which is just such a wild, crazy idea. Well, they're pushing it. And they are going to push it. And you think $93 trillion over 10 years is a lot of money for the health care? Any form of reparation that truly pays money to any Black American, that make $93 trillion look like nothing. Nothing. You say there's no money to pay for. But all you're going to do is talk about it. Whoa, what a wonderful thing to talk about. What a utopic idea. You know, golly gee. I saw that Harris woman, she was saying that we need to do something to compensate the Blacks because they didn't start at the same time we did. They're behind. Guys, I've never owned a slave. I wouldn't own one if it was legal today. None of you have. Slavery goes so far back that it's a terrible, terrible part of our history. It truly is. And I got to tell you, I do not understand the mentality of our founding fathers. I mean, as smart as they were, as godly men as they were, I do find fault that they would participate in the slavery trade, many of them. I just don't understand it. I wasn't there, but I just don't understand it. It just wasn't right. But it is a part of our history, so we have to deal with it. But I don't see reparation as a way to make up for the damage done back during the slavery era. I don't see the benefit of that at the cost of making us all of us, including the Blacks, including the Hispanics, Latinos, the Chinese, you name it. I don't see it making sense to go to socialism because then we all become slaves. We're going back into the slavery business, but it's all of us being slaves. Slaves to a government. Slaves to a system. 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 Sla And would you want to be slaves? Would you want to be led by a government that endorses the killing of babies after they're born? Is that the kind of government you would want to be in control of your life? See, the part they're not telling you about this universal health care program is they got a little surprise there too for the elderly. You see, in socialism, you're either productive for society or you're not. And under socialism, that we will see that would happen to us, they will take care of the non-productive elderly by not allowing for medicine. They'll kill off the elderly. Think about that. That sounds like conspiracy nutbag talk. No, it's not. No, it's not. Even in Obamacare, as it was written, one of the little inside secrets of it was, when you're elderly, they're not going to deny you health care. No, they're not going to deny you health care. But I tell you what they did do. They fixed it to where the medicine that you need, you can't afford. You can't afford it. So, you know, government didn't cause you to die. You did, just because you didn't have the money to buy the medicine to keep you alive. And all of a sudden, you've taken care of the class of people in society that are non-productive. You see, under socialism, one of the first things they're going to do is take care of all the legacies. Legacies, meaning Social Security. You see, under this new socialism, progressive socialism, that Bernie Sanders and the Democrats are pushing, do you believe that they're going to allow Social Security to keep being paid? I mean, my God, folks, that's money. That's money the government would have to pay to people that are not productive in society anymore. That's not allowed. Just not allowed. So holy smokes. This new Green Deal, it sounds so good. It's nothing but a lie. That is a true conspiracy to entrap America. The main weapon that they're going to use is the millennials, the millennial generation. You see, they've worked for 50, 75 years, maybe even longer than that, to get to where we are today, where we actually have an entire generation of Americans that from the day they set foot in their preschool classroom till the day they graduate and leave college, that have been in a structured social engineering program all the way. Social engineering is a technical term for brainwashing. Brainwashing. So that's why if we talk to the millennial age group, many of them, as we talk to them, they think we're from another planet. They see no problem with socialism. They're smart. They're supposedly the smartest generation in our history. But they're not smart enough to look at Venezuela. Look at other historical countries that have fallen under the spell of socialism. What happened to them? And they're not smart enough to realize that what happened to them, what happened to us. It's pitiful. But this is why we're all doing what we're doing today. This is why we're at where we are. This is the time. Our enemy, the enemy of liberty and freedom and our way of life, that enemy has worked for years to get to this day. It's here. That's why Now the media's all out in the open now. They're not hiding their bias. They're not hiding their editorial news. There's no such thing, but look at news articles today. News articles today are nothing but editorial pieces. The media is all in. I've asked this challenge before. What do you think happens if tomorrow somehow everything got turned around and everything was okay? Can you ever, after what we've been through since President Trump was running and has been elected, can you ever again find the day you could believe in the mainstream media? Could you? I don't think so. So that should tell you they've thrown it all in to this battle, to this war. They're all in. The government's all in. You know, we hear about the soft coup or the silent coup. We hear about it. And we notice it with Comey and the high-level people at the FBI. What you don't hear about is with the CIA. Clapper. There was just the same participation in the coup there. With the NSA, the same participation in the coup. These people are all still there. They're still there. And they're still actively, aggressively working to destroy President Trump. Because the only thing standing in their way of closing this country down and changing our form of government, the only thing stopping them is President Donald Trump. Now, I'm not here to tell you Donald Trump was perfect. We did not elect him to be Pope. We elected him to bring his business acumen to our government and see if managing our country like a business wouldn't be better than what we've been getting for years. All we've seen thus far is that guess what? It's working. It's working. And the only thing the Democrats can do, and the mainstream media, is come up with something else to knock him down with. And that's the purpose of the hearing. And there will be more. And I assure you, when Mueller comes out with his report, the Democrats will impeach President Trump. Now, when I say impeach, remember, impeachment is like a grand jury in civil law. The grand jury simply, the House would be the grand jury, and they simply review all the evidence, and then they will determine whether there's enough evidence that warrants prosecution. And in the case of an impeachment hearing or trial, if they find in the House that he's impeached, if they impeach him in the House, which means they found supposedly evidence to substantiate it, then it goes to the Senate for the trial. Goes to the Senate for the trial. And what scares me is we have this false sense of security. Well, don't worry about it, because if it goes to the Senate, the Republicans are in control of the Senate, he'd never be removed from the presidency. That's not true. As most of you know, our margin of the Republicans over the Democrats in the Senate is by hair. And there are many Republicans in the Senate that would love to destroy Donald Trump. You might ask why? Well, because they want the same thing the Democrats do. When this government is transformed to this new form of government that they've got plans, the socialist government, remember, there will be a group that will be the committee. And that group that's on that committee, they will make all the rules. Now, there might be a figurehead, like a president, but everybody in Congress wants to be a part of the leadership committee. And that way, they're protected all their lives, and their families announce that they're starting the impeachment hearing, we will have to go to work, you and I. We will. And we've had some tests that we've done, which is basically the calling, reading the script. We practiced that. We've done it on a couple of occasions. Well, when it gets to the impeachment, we're going to get hard after it because it's for real. Now, to be honest, the Democrats, as I understand their plan is not to fulfill the completion of this impeachment hearing and the trial and order Trump out of office. That's not their plan. What they want to do is time it to where the impeachment hearing is going on during the election. And that way, every time you think of Donald Trump, or every time he speaks, it'll be while he's under impeachment. Think about that. Think about how complicated it would be for Donald Trump to run a campaign while he's in the midst of being impeached in the House. Think about it. That's almost impossible. Almost impossible to beat. Then when you add to that the reparation, then when you add to that, they're going to tell the millennials and everybody else free college, and they're going to do away with college debt. Well, now they've got just whole blocks of voters. It's going to be hard to beat. Matter of fact, you may sit and wonder, then how on earth can we beat them? Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue. Oh, it's not as bad as you think. It's not good. I'm certainly not saying it's good. But there are some things that work to our favor. Number one, the reason we are trying to make people aware of socialism and that it's whipping at our heels to steal our country away. In this election, when Trump's being impeached and all of this stuff's coming out against him, we have got to make the people of this country understand that we're about to be taken over by socialism. And whoever the Democrats put in the race against President Trump will be the leader of the effort for socialism. Now, here's where it gets possible that we can save it. In both sides, Democrat and the Republicans, you have a base. President Trump has a base. And in that base, it's made up of two groups, the hard base and the soft base. The hard base are the people that no matter what is said or brought out against him, no matter what anybody can do, they are going to vote for Trump. They're Trump, live or die. But then you've got the part of his base that's considered the soft base. Now, if the election were held today, and it was between Trump and Bernie Sanders, without all of this trickery that's going on, they would vote for President Trump. But here's the problem. In a time when the president is being impeached, when all of this stuff is out there making him look like he's a traitor to the country, that soft base will stay home. They just won't vote. Now, 60% of President Trump's base is a soft base. 40% is the hard base. Let him do or die. 60% of President Trump's base is soft. How do we get those people interest in anything until it hits them in their pocketbook. Such is the case with Obamacare. You know, the reason Obamacare became such a problem is because all of a sudden people thought they were going to have a reduction in their insurance and their costs were going to go down. Quite the opposite. When it hit the pocketbooks of the American people, whoa, all of a sudden it wasn't a good deal anymore. And that's what allowed some changes to be made. So when it hits your pocketbook, that's when the don't care category get involved on one. But the other motivational device is fear. Fear. If they're afraid of something, that'll activate them. That'll motivate them. They'll go out and vote. If they are scared for their family, they'll go out and vote. And the one thing that should scare even those that don't care, even those people that don't pay attention to politics, etc., is socialism. Now, we got to inform them about socialism. We got to make them know about socialism. We've got to make them understand, which Democrats are going to help us do, since most of them declare that they're democratic socialists. We've got to make that 40%, that 60% of Trump's soft base. We've got to make them be afraid of socialism, and we've got to attack the don't care group with socialism. Make them afraid, and it's the truth. So you see, there is hope. It's not going to be easy. But I say here to you today, if we do our job, we'll win. We will win. And we will do our job because we have to do it. We have families. We have children, grandchildren. We have to win. I'm all the time concerned about the numbers. Doesn't seem like we're growing in numbers to this program. Folks, this program is not about drawing big numbers. It's not about that at all. It's about teaching, trying to teach, trying to explain to you so that you can explain to others things that are going on, things that you've seen all your life but may not have understood necessarily what was going on behind the scenes. That's what I try to do. And I remember the biblical story of Gideon. You know, he was outnumbered and surrounded, so to speak. Had a pretty good sized army, and then God got hold of him. Not going into the whole story, whittled him down 300. That's all he had, 300. But he defeated the enemy with God's help. That's what we got to do. We've got to call on God. We've got to ask for his help. We've got to be committed to his help. Committed to our faith. God won't walk off and leave us. We can and do quite often walk off and leave him. And when you're looking at Trump and all the things Cohen and others are saying about him, calling him all these names, saying that he's a crook, a scam artist, all that, I ask each and every one of you, how would you feel if the whole world got to see all the warts in your life, the mistakes you made in your life? What if they were all brought out for the world to see? I think it would be hard to take, I know, because I've had it done to me. It is hard. But the harder it gets, the harder you fight. As bad as it gets, you believe. You stay the course. And that's what we're going to do. Now, Mary Ellen, have we got anybody listening that's in the chat room?
Yes, we have had up to 27 people in the chat room. We've got 24 right now. I wanted to say that articles, don't the congressmen have to sign an oath to defend the Constitution?
Yes, they do.
Okay, Article 14 starts, the first three words are all natural born. which means the constitutional rights afforded citizens of the U.S. have to be afforded these babies that are born alive. I mean, born means alive, because if you are born dead, you're called stillborn. So they are born here in this country, which makes them Americans and therefore entitled to Article 14. So why can't we go after our congressman for violating Article 14? And if we could do it, how would that happen?
Well, we could do it, but we would have to have a lot of money, which we don't. It would take a lot of time, which we don't have. So, just on those 2 points alone, and there are many other points, that would not be the way to go. We got to beat it, Mary Ellen. We got to beat it. We can't. We're not going to take it to court and win. Because if we do go to court, where's it going to go? It's going to go into a federal court. Who controls
that? The left.
Mm-hmm. See, it all comes back to that.
Okay.
You've got to beat it. We've got to beat it. We've got to make a commitment to stay after the congressmen and the senators, and yes, folks, you at your local level, your state legislators, if there's legislation on the table in your state allowing for this type of murder, you've got to get your voice up. And you've got to get others to use their voices so that your voices collectively are heard. And you got to make it sting. You got to make them understand, like we do in every one of our scripts, if you don't support the baby, I'll do everything in my power to see that my friends, my family will all make sure you never hold office again. That'll get their attention. But you have to do it even at the state level, if that's where it's being done.
So we need to be showing up at town hall meetings. We need to be asking for opportunities to meet with our state representatives when they are in their local offices, because they're not in the state capitol every day. And we can't sit on the sidelines anymore thinking that we're being represented. It is time for us to actually participate in government ourselves, because our representatives are not representing.
It's called engaging.
Yep.
We have to engage the enemy. If we don't, the enemy wins. I swear to God, the enemy wins every time.
Okay.
If we engage, we win. We win.
Juan wants to know what the percentages are for the hard and soft base of the Democrats. Do they also have a 60-40?
Just about, yes. Now, remember, the 60-40 is on the average. It might be 38, etc., but it's just figured for gross figuring, just figure 60-40. And the Democrats suffer from the same thing.
Okay. Now, when you were talking about, can we ever believe the mainstream media? Because of all the lies that they have told. I mean, we would hope that Americans and our congressman would use that same logic in dealing with Michael Cohen. He lied to Congress already. That's why he's going to jail. And he admitted to lying. And they have called him in. So why should anybody believe what Cohen is saying, given his track record?
Anybody with a rational mind doesn't. But you forget one thing. The majority of the people in this country don't even know this hearing's going on. The only people, to be honest, interested in this hearing, I'm getting too much from my throat. The only people interested in this hearing are the hard faces of both parties. Those are the only people that care about it. So that's just the truth. That is just the truth. And I remind everybody that when you think about 24-hour news coverage networks that are covering all of this from top to bottom, that's barely 2% of the population that watch watch those. 2%, 98% don't. So, in one way, it's much ado about nothing. On the other hand, what will be on the 6 and 10 o'clock evening news in everybody's local market will be going back up by the media, calling President Trump all the things he called him. That's what people hear.
I mean, the first thing I heard with all the lies that he's telling about President Trump, or the things that he claims Trump has done, he had to have been complicit in anything and everything, because if there were payouts made, he's the one that made the payouts. And so it would seem to me that he'd be more liable than Trump.
One thing that's not being dealt with in this hearing that I wish somebody would have brought up, he was perfectly at home working with Trump, backing Trump up, doing everything that he said he did, until one thing happened. And he says it was when he saw Charlottesville and all this other stuff. That's not true. You know what made him turn? You know what made him anti-Trump? It wasn't anything within himself. It was when he was prosecuted. That's when he had this great experience where he realized, you know, Trump was all these bad things that he supposedly now knows he knew all along. He didn't stop working for Trump. He did not stop. If Trump was doing this bad stuff, he didn't stop helping him and facilitating this bad stuff of his own, you know, his own will. He stopped doing it when he got investigated, prosecuted. Then he had this life-changing experience. And that's something.
Yeah.
It would be different if Cohen had this revelation. If Cohen had have come out before he was ever prosecuted, before he ever found out he's been investigated, if he just of his own free will stood up one day and said, gosh, I can't do this any longer, I'm telling the truth, and come out on his own, but he didn't. I dare say, if he hadn't been prosecuted, he'd still be Trump's attorney right now. So don't give me this, you know, goody two-shoe thing I've become. Don't do that to me. I know what you are. I know what you're doing. Any other questions from anybody?
Yeah, Juan had a follow-up question. Do conditions have to be perfect for the 60% soft base to vote either way? And then there's one more question.
Now, does the situation have to be perfect to get the 60%
soft base to vote?
They have to be motivated. We have to, and that's what we're doing, never socialism. Number one, we got to tell the truth. We've got to make them see that socialism is coming. But remember, there's two things to make that 60% come out and vote. The only two I know of that are sure things. One is when it hits their pocketbook, and two, fear. We have nothing to do with their pocketbook, so we can't really do anything about that. But we can make them aware of the fear that they should have. And that 60%, remember, they're already pseudo in our camp, all right? They're in Trump's camp. They're just not active. They're just not dyed in the wool, going to jump up and down and support President Trump no matter what. But they're already predisposed to be for Trump. What we have to do is give them the reason to get up on election day and get out there and vote. And if they learn, if we do a good job, if President Trump does a good job of showing that 60%, showing that 60% that we're going to become a socialist country in 2020 if we lose that election. They'll get out and vote. Now, to the opposite side, the Democrats, they're 60%. What's got to be done? They're doing it. They're doing it with these freebies, preparation, free college, free healthcare. They're going to free stuff to get their 60%, hopefully motivated to go vote.
And what we have to do, folks, is we have to tell everybody that the Appropriations Committee is the one that will fund that, and they will shut it down there. So this is nothing but a trick for votes.
Mm-hmm. And if we're already going in the hole every hour, $100 million every hour, think what 93 trillion, and I say that's a low projection, think what 93 trillion over 10 years would do to us. And that's just the healthcare part. It's not reparation.
Okay, I have an announcement to make to everybody. We have some Never Socialism bumper stickers coming. We will announce either by the end of the week or the beginning of next week how you can get them. But we will have those available, and I'd love to see you buy more than just one for your own car, but promote it so that others might get it as well. And there's one last question, Larry. Could enough blacks be awakened to vote conservative and win the election? I've heard 5%, a 5% switch would do it. Many are fundamentally conservative, but have been lied to for years to vote Democrat.
Well, that's one of the things, well, first I want to say this. We can know safely that the Democrats know that there is enough of the black vote headed towards Trump that they're so paranoid that they're offering reparation. So that should tell you, yes, there are enough votes in the black community to win this election with Trump. We've got to push it from, say, 6-7% participation in the election to 12% for Trump.
And I'm assuming you'll have some ideas down the road.
Yeah. Well, remember this. That's the whole point of education. We've got to make everybody aware of the horrible, terrifying effect of socialism. Socialism will cross over all different bodies and groups in this country. Everybody. I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're green or yellow or whatever. If we end up under socialism, just close your eyes and look at Venezuela. I don't see there's any distinction there between people. They're all broke. We're all going to be broke. We're all going to have nothing. Nothing.
And don't forget, folks, don't forget we've got t-shirts available now that are stunning, designed by Larry, that say Never Socialism on them. And you can go to the website nicholslive.com to place your order. There's a link there. And please remember that Larry needs help. He only got $15 from what he did with Jason yesterday. He needs funds every day for what needs to be done. So thank you. His PayPal account is nicholslive@aol.com. nicholslive@aol.com. On
I wish
PayPal.
all of you would help. I wish you would help. Not just for the money part, but just so that we're all committed. We're all committed. Guys, I've taken everything I have. Everything. Everything I have or everything I'll ever have. And put it into this, as has Mary Ellen, as have a few others. Everything. We've all got to chip in. We've all got to do our part. It can't be held up by just one person or two or three or 10. The t-shirts, we have to be a little bit higher on the price because we don't have the money to afford the stock. stock them and buy a bunch at one time and keep them in inventory. We don't, so we have to do it pretty much piece by piece. The first batch is coming out. Actually, it's already been printed, and they'll be shipped, I think, tomorrow. And once you see them, I think you will be excited. I think you will like them. So be watching for it. Be watching.
You can see the logo. You can see the logo on the website, nicholslive.com, under merchandise.
Yep. So anyway, folks, anybody else have a question? If not, we will say good day. Mary Ellen, anybody else lingering with a question? I don't want to leave.
No, sir, there's no other question. There was Larry, there was somebody, I'm going to read this one thing. Thank you very much for your courage, strength, and honesty. You're a blessing for those of us who follow you. Please continue putting out the information. God bless you.
Well, thank you. I just want you all to don't be depressed. It is depressing. It is serious. But we're going to win. We're going to win. How do you know, Larry, we're going to win? I know we're going to win because we have to. Now, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be automatic. That'll only mislead you and think, well, just because we have to, then I don't have to worry about anything because we're going to win. That's not exactly what I'm saying. We've all got to engage. We got to fight the good fight. And if we fight the good fight, we will win. If we don't, we're destined to lose. And there's not a one of you out there hearing me right now. Your one person participation will determine whether we win or lose. You will make that decision right now, whether you're with us or not. You will make us win or you will make us lose. But it's your decision. So without any help anybody can send, it's kind of urgent. Send it. We need it immediately. But beyond that, thanks. And thanks again to those that have helped. And till tomorrow. Good day, folks.
One more, Larry. Sorry. Did El Chapo give big names, do you think?
Did what?
Did El Chapo give big names?
I don't know.
And I think, and one question that came in that you've answered before is, do you think Ruth Bader Ginsburg is alive? Your answer then was you didn't know.
No, but I'm almost certain, folks, she's alive. If she were dead, they would not be able to cover it up. I'm just telling you. The magnitude of that kind of cover-up would be virtually impossible. So for all of the stories out there on the internet about her being dead, don't believe it. Put it in the category of so many stories that are out there that are just bogus.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
All right, guys.
Are we going to do this same time tomorrow?
Same time.
Okay. I'll put the announcement up. Thank you. And thanks, folks, for being here. God bless you. And call your congressman about the way they have voted. The Democrats voted to kill babies after they're born.